In a previous video, we explained that one of the main reasons abortion is still legal is that pro-life people are not really trying to end it. The question we now ought to ask is, how hard should we be trying? How much time and money should we be expending to stop the slaughter of preborn persons? What sort of things should we be doing and saying? What should our attitude be when we do them? And what sort of risks should we be willing to take? Determining the role that each individual should play may seem daunting, but the task becomes much easier if we learn to keep one very important question at the forefront of our minds, namely, how would I respond in a world where born people are murdered? If the preborn are really just as human as the born, it follows that in any given situation, we should respond to injustice against preborn people in a way similar to how we should respond to injustice against born people. This is called moral consistency, and it's the most important thing we need to remember as we examine how to get serious about ending abortion. So, how should we respond in a world where people, born or preborn, are being routinely murdered? The 2015 miniseries Man in the High Castle depicts just such a world. In the alternative history of this series, all the horrors of the Nazi Holocaust have been instituted throughout the United States.
What is that?
Oh, it's the hospital.
The hospital?
Yeah, Tuesday, they burned cripples, the terminally ill. Drag on the state.
The protagonists take drastic measures to combat these injustices. In the process, they sacrifice almost all their time, money, and personal agendas, and take great personal risks. They do this because they recognize that when innocent people are being murdered on a regular basis, stopping these murders is one of the most important duties a person can have. It's obvious, then, that fighting to end abortion justifiably takes an extremely high place in the list of our duties, and we are amiss if we do not find ourselves taking the same sorts of sacrifices to end abortion as we hope we would make to end the routine murder of born people. With this in mind, let's examine how the average pro-life person can be morally consistent in regards to working to end abortion. First, let's look at time. According to the National Bureau of Labor Statistics, every week in 2014, the average adult with children and a job worked just over 40 hours. But since this number includes part-timers, we'll bump it up to an even 45 hours. They spent about 59.5 hours sleeping or falling asleep, and 39.62 hours preparing and eating meals, making purchases, caring for children, and performing other household tasks. This leaves just about 24 hours per week for religious services, family time, recreation, and any other unforeseen situations that may arise. Couldn't maybe 4 of those hours be used to help bring an end to abortion? 4 hours is only 2% of the week. And remember, we're only talking about employed adults with children. Homemakers, minors, singles, and retirees would have more flexibility. What's that? You say you still don't have enough time? You wouldn't be alone. According to a 2007 Gallup poll, nearly half of Americans report not having enough time to do the things they want to do in life. This is incredible, considering that barely one generation ago, many of the technological advances we use to make life easier didn't even exist. How is it possible that modern pro-life Americans don't have enough time to deal with a problem as immense as abortion? Where are we spending our precious hours? Well, the answer isn't that hard to find.
Stop!
We know what you're thinking. You're about to protest. You've got to be kidding. You can't seriously be suggesting that it's wrong to have a career and get an education. You can't tell me it's wrong to spend time with my family, have fun, and volunteer at my church. These are good things. They may be good things, but the question is not, are these activities good, but how much time should I spend on these activities when children continue to be slaughtered all around me? We may need to face the hard truth that many of the good things we currently spend our time doing may need to be curtailed and in some cases indefinitely postponed until abortion is dealt with. For example, everyone needs a way to support themselves, but we don't need to insist upon working at our dream job or working all sorts of extra hours to get promoted. Everyone needs education, but we don't need to insist upon a specific degree, and it might be necessary to postpone higher education altogether. Everyone needs recreation, but probably not as much as we think we need. You get the idea. If this seems too radical, remember that these are exactly the same sacrifices made by millions of young Americans at the start of World War II. Nearly every young man fit to enlist did. In doing so, he postponed his education, his career plans, and in many cases, his plans to start a family. He endured extreme hardship and sometimes paid with his life. Professing Christians were no exception. In fact, they probably enlisted with even greater enthusiasm than their secular counterparts. Everybody just assumed that ordinary life would have to wait until the war was over. Few people thought the decision was difficult. The fact that abortion is legal should have a significant impact on the way we allocate our hours, and if it doesn't, we can't really say that we're taking abortion seriously. What about money? Like time, it's hard to determine exactly how much money each pro-life person should be contributing. But consider this. There are about 38 million Americans who think abortion should be illegal in all cases. About 18 million of these people are employed. If each of these people set aside $1 each week, that's $864 million a year. You could fund a small army of anti-abortion activists with that amount of money, or purchase airtime on major television networks, or do a host of other things. But of course, that's not where our money is going. As we demonstrated in a previous video, neither evangelical nor Catholic churches are routinely giving anywhere near that much money to anti-abortion initiatives. Part of this is due to the fact that we don't understand how the movement could use the funds. However, it is also true that pro-life people and their churches are finding other ways to spend it. Of course, many of you are going to say, this doesn't apply to me. I don't waste money and I don't have much debt. I probably give more than the majority of people in my church. While this is commendable, remember our goal should not be to outgive those around us, but to meet the needs around us, including the need that preborn children have to survive. This is a Christian principle, but even secular people are capable of understanding it on some level.
Alice, have you fulfilled your obligation to society?
Yes. I signed up for payroll deduction. I like to give. I'm morally superior to Dilbert.
That is so illogical. As long as there are starving people in the world, you can't have money in the bank and still claim to be moral.
There is ample precedent for my behavior. It is completely societally appropriate to give only as much as one can afford.
You just bought 6 pairs of shoes that look exactly the same.
That came out of my shoe budget.
Don't rock the boat, Dilbert. It's a fragile system.
That shoe money could have fed a poor family for a year. What's so moral about letting people starve to death so that you can have extra shoes?
Stop it. You're ruining everything.
I mean, until you give it all away, you're not more moral. You just feel less guilty.
I don't agree. The concept of morality is contingent upon the cultural context. I mean, the relative value of guilt in a so-called free society. I mean, altruistic inclinations are dependent upon... You're right. I hate that.
This is, of course, an extremely radical idea. Living according to these principles will cause major changes in your lifestyle. For many people, it would mean a complete reorientation of our lives. You would have to sacrifice a lot of things you enjoyed doing and alter many of your plans. You may very well have to cut back on serving God in one way in order to free up more time and money to serve Him by saving preborn babies. But if abortion really is murder, we are living in the midst of a genocidal society. This is not a normal world, and our lifestyles shouldn't be normal. Perhaps you're still unconvinced. Perhaps the good that you're already doing in your life seems to outweigh the good that you could accomplish by ending abortion. Well, maybe it would help if we took one last hard look at all the things that currently consume our energies and contrast them directly with what's happening to our preborn neighbors. But be careful. That kind of clarity can be life-altering.